Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine. I'm back here to review another episode of Fox's 24 Legacy. This time it's all about Season 1, Episode number 6, entitled From 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. So this is pretty much a review slash recap of this episode, and I am aware of the fact that I do need to review episodes 7 and 8, and that is my top priority this weekend to do. So pretty much Eric is mourning the death of Ben, and I thought that that was a very pivotal scene to see Eric showing his feelings, not only as a man, but as a black man. I'm saying it as it is, because it's good to see men in general show their feelings and cry, but it's also good to see black men, because black men have the stereotype of being hard. So Eric takes Ben's dog tags and keeps them as a memento, I'm assuming to push himself to continue this mission to take down Jidalla and stop him before he can deploy the rest of the 14 different sleeper cells that are floating around. Because as you know from watching this episode, one has already been deployed, and that is Amira and her brother Khasan with Mr. Harris, the teacher, the one that Amira basically seduced to get into this whole situation. Anyways, we see Locke, or as I know him best as Branch from Longmire. Anyway, he is chastising Eric about the failed mission. He basically says some bad stuff about Ben Grimes, and you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Eric is pissed off. Locke is pretty much rude, obviously. So Eric is talking to Nicole on her phone, and he tells her that he's going to send CTU to get her because he wants her out of Isaac's house and out of the hood, and he wants her to be safe. So Isaac learns that Eric has sent some CTU agents, or will be sending them, to come to Isaac's house to get Nicole, and he's not happy about that. He tells her that she doesn't have to leave and that she's safer in the hood. And honestly, on a side note, she actually is. If you take out the whole situation with Aisha and Jerome, of which, on a side note, to that side note, where the hell are those two? But anyway, back to this side note, she is safer in the hood with Isaac and his men because they have guns. Nobody's going to mess with them. Nobody's going to come out there and bother them. At least that's what I thought initially, until I continued watching the episode. Okay, so Locke is talking to CTU. More importantly, he's talking to, I believe it is Zoom. And he says, Ben Grimes was right. Jidalla and his men were smuggled into the country like livestock via the man with the messed up eye and, the bruise over his eye, or the cut down his eye. And Locke says that he and his men found the fake IDs that Jidalla and his men had. So Carter says that he wants to help CTU. He wants to help Keith Mullins find Jidalla and basically stop all of this mess from happening. And he's giving me Jack Bauer vibes in doing this, because Jack was always ready and willing to put his life on the line to save someone, to stop a terrorist attack. And as you know from, the 9 or 8 seasons of 24, I always get them confused with other shows, so bear with me. The 9 or 8 seasons of 24, you know that Jack was always ready to get down and dirty. Even when, unfortunately, it came in between his relationship with his wife and his daughter and other people, and he had to betray people and all that other stuff. Pretty much Eric Carter has begun the road down, or continues down the road of the 24 legacy. So Amira's father, Amira, the high school girl who is a part of one of Jidalla's sleeper cells, along with her brother and her teacher, Mr. Harris. Her father's trying to reason with her and tell her about their religion and what it means to family and how it's supposed to bring them peace. Basically trying to tell her, please don't carry out this attack. This is not who you are. This is not how I raised you. This is not what our religion stands for. So Amira's brother Khasan sees his sister a couple minutes later, and he realizes that the father was talking to her, and he reminds her all about their abusive childhood and says that right now there's no time for doubt. Basically, they're going to do this. They're going to go together and detonate this bomb on the bridge. So John Donovan is sitting in the room with his father, and we already know, because he said it a couple episodes ago, that Henry was not going to tell the truth at all. So John and Rebecca, they speak. I think Rebecca called him into the hallway, and she tells him about this operation that's going on with Eric Carter, where Eric and Locke and the rest of them are headed to go find Jidalla bin Khalid and his men and basically stop their plans and bring them in. And Rebecca says she was allowed to, or she was basically asked to oversee it. And John makes a comment that says, you know, you can't stay away from CTU. And I'm just like, that sounds familiar. Jack Bauer. Most of the CTU directors that follow Jack Bauer, pretty much. Chloe and the other people who left the CTU and came back to the CTU. Nice going, writers. So Locke calls into the CTU, and he starts talking to Mariana, and he asks Mariana, where is Andy? And, you know, because Andy's not running point on this mission anymore because Keith Mullins basically kind of yanked away his credentials and everything. So he's able to speak to Andy, and Andy tells him about what he did to help Eric and how he feels courageous, or he said something to the effect of, you know, what I did was considered courageous, something like that. And basically in that scene we learned that Locke is still not ready to face his feelings about Andy. Now, on a side note, there were people online saying, why they have to put this in here? Too many relationships, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know, from all the years of me watching 24, there's always some sort of relationship. There's always something going on undercover between two people, so I'm not surprised by the relationships. I do like the fact that it is a same-sex relationship. That's kind of a first in 24, and it's kind of relevant to the way the world is now, so it's pretty cool. And I do like Andy and Locke in a relationship together. I wasn't too keen on Amira and Mr. Harris, so Andy and Locke to me is a breath of fresh air. So Neela Mizrani wants to help John after learning or revealing that she knows the truth, that John believed her throughout everything that she went through. He never wavered. He refused to believe that she was a part of this terrorist cell. So John tells her that he wants to withdraw from the presidential race. And I'm just like, wait until your father hears this, because your father is going to have a fit. So Amira and her brother Khasan get a visitor, and it's Mr. Harris and his bumbling self, and he is like carrying a box full of like all these chemicals for the bombs, and Khasan is not happy that this dude just moseyed on up to the door with all this stuff. And immediately Mr. Harris knows that, or notices that Amira is quiet, she's not talking, and she's kind of struggling with this mission. And Amira says that they have a visitor, it's the father, and he knows about everything that's going on, and he does not approve of this mission. So Mr. Harris basically says he wants to take her away like they talked about so that they can be together. And I'm like, how is this going to work out? Not only is he way older than Amira, but also there is the issue of the brother, and is the brother going to allow this? Now, this was my mind, or my thoughts, or these were my thoughts at that point while I was watching the episode. So Amira pretty much reveals that she can't leave, she can't go anywhere. So Mr. Harris eyes this gun that Khasan had, and he put that on the table, and Khasan asked Mr. Harris to help him pour some mercury or something like that. So basically Mr. Harris has an idea in his head, you can see it through his eyes, to kill Khasan, but I already figured out it's not going to work. It was going to go bad. So Rebecca returned to CTU, and she revealed that they only have 24 hours to hold Henry Donovan. So pretty much they have to come up with another plan to keep this dude so that they could get some more information out of him, because obviously she knows him better than we know him, and CTU knows him, and she knows he knows something. So Rebecca and Keith Mullins learn about this news story involving Eric Carter. It's basically about the events that occurred in episode 5 involving that guy Gabriel, and it's all on the news despite the fact that CTU was like trying to put a kibosh on it. So Jidalla and his men find out about this and start destroying all the evidence. So Locke gets a call from Mullins, aka Zoom from the Flash, and he tells him, you know, this new mission is possibly compromised, but the problem is Locke, Eric, and the rest of the crew have pulled up to Jidalla's building where he was, and there's no way out. They're going to have to go in. So when they get inside, the building is empty. Everything is gone. The computers are smoking. So pretty much all the information that they had in there is destroyed. CTU can't find them. They're probably running through the woods, and there's no way to see them with all those trees. And by see them, I mean like view them from the satellite feed. So Eric is pissed off because he's just like, you know, I found Jidalla and his men, but you, Locke, and your men basically effed this up and you lost him. So back at Amira's house, the bombs are set up. Everything is in the van. Khasan and Amira, and I figured this out the second time because for some reason when I was watching it, I was like, so is Khasan saying that Amira's going to drive alone, or is he going to drive? But I think they both were going to drive together. And all of a sudden, Mr. Harris pulls a gun on Khasan, and he says he wants to leave with Amira because they both want to live. And then Mr. Harris shot Khasan in the belly, and Amira stabbed Mr. Harris in the back and continued stabbing him and stabbed him in the heart, and he was dead. Khasan, as she's dying, tells her she'll have to do it alone, meaning she'll have to drive and detonate that bomb all alone. So CTU shows up to pick up Nicole. Unfortunately, it doesn't go well. So as Nicole is basically saying goodbye to Isaac, she had hugged him and everything, and he followed her outside. All of a sudden, both of her escorts, the CTU agents with the big sedan, they're shot. Poor Isaac gets hit by a van and knocked out because the van looked like it was going to drive and hit him, but then it did like a weird turn and bopped him and knocked him out. So both Isaac and Nicole are taken, and then Isaac's men run out and they're trying to retaliate against Jidalla bin Khalid's men that showed up to get Nicole. And one of them comes out of the back of the van with what looked like an Uzi and took out a hell of a lot of the men that were outside, save for maybe like one. I think it was only one dude who was by himself. So Amira tells her father goodbye, and she basically tells him that she's going to take her brother's place. She put tape over his mouth. She's just like, I'm leaving, but somebody's going to find you. Don't worry. And he tried to talk her out of it, but there was no way. She was just like, I'm going to do this. So all of a sudden, after she's gone, she's en route to the George Washington Bridge. Her father frees himself. He goes into the shed or the garage. He sees the dead bodies. He saw the bomb-making materials, the big drums, and the map, and saw where she was headed. He called her to try to talk her out of completing this mission, but he can't, so he decides to call 911. Well, Keith Mullins and Rebecca are talking to that black guy with the bald head or something like that, and I think he's either from Homeland Security or from another faction in the government. Anyway, he's not happy about the developments because Jidalla and his people are still out there, as we know, and the whole thing is that they promised to get a hold on the situation and stop it before it became what it is right now. By they, I mean like CTU, Rebecca, and Keith Mullins, aka Zoom from the Flash. And as you can see, that didn't happen. And all of a sudden, Keith Mullins has to take a call or check a text or something like that. He gets some sort of alert, and he finds out all about Amira's mission. The next thing you know, CTU is looking for that truck because they heard that her father called in and explained everything, and they locate the truck on the satellite. CTU calls up the bridge, and they make this one poor man, that poor man, he was all by himself, and they made him shut down the George Washington Bridge. Now, he spied the truck. He stopped the truck by shooting into it, and it appeared that Amira was dead. It did look like it, but then part of me realized that she didn't get shot. She must have hit her head or something. Or maybe she did get shot, but she didn't get shot in the head. So Amira ends up detonating the bomb with this poor man from the bridge inside of the truck, basically, because I think he broke the glass and got in and was talking to Keith Mullins and CTU, and she detonated the bomb because she had her hand on it, and then she moved her thumb and she hit it. Both of them were killed. That scene was extremely rough the first time I saw it, and it was even worse the second time that I saw it. I felt so bad for that poor man. He was just trying to do his job. So Amira's father knows that she's dead. We see him in the street along with the neighbors, and he's just in tears. You can see all the regret on his face, and it's just a really sad scene. So Nicole and Isaac make it to Jidalla's new hideout, and they meet him and his men, and Nicole sees that attack, the aftermath of it, on the news. And so Keith Mullins knows that the girl who detonated the bomb on the bridge was a part of one of those 15 cells. So 1 down, 14 more to go. 100 people died. Eric blames himself. Rebecca blames herself. But really there was nothing that either of them could do, because either way, this was going to happen somehow, some way. I think CTU just lucked up with the whole development that disc got damaged, because if that disc was working, all 15 of those cells would all activate and be blowing up stuff all over the country. So Eric learns when he calls up Nicole that Isaac or I think Nicole called him or something like that. So Eric learns that Isaac and Nicole are with Jidalla. I'm trying to remember if Jidalla called him using Nicole's phone, or Jidalla had Nicole call him by Eric using her phone, and then he took the phone. And by he, I mean Jidalla took the phone from Nicole. Either way, she and Isaac are with Jidalla, and Jidalla basically says, we, meaning me and my men, need someone who can recover the data from the flash drive that's damaged, and if you don't come up with that person, your brother and your brother and your wife are going to die slow, painful deaths. So, unfortunately, I kept you guys waiting because I did that one review for 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and I did not finish the rest of the reviews, and now I have 2 down and a review for The Walking Dead. So, I have to be a busy bee. I'm going to keep my promises. I have to do it because it's been bugging the crap out of me. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this review. I love you all. Take care and stay tuned as always. Sage Valentine signing out. Bye guys. Bye.